As you head into retirement, you need to take a fresh look at your level of investment risk, especially the possibility of losing money from your investments. Now, your time frame is one of the biggest factors in assessing risk. Because you may no longer have time to recover from market downturns, it's a good idea to reassess whether the proportion of your assets in higher risk securities is greater than it should be. Joining me is Adam Howard in Lexington, Kentucky. Now, with many retirees living well into their 80s, 90s, and beyond, how can you de-risk a portfolio to protect assets and at the same time still provide growth to last through retirement?
It's broadly a diversified portfolio. There's this rule of thumb in our industry that I was taught when I first came into it that I think's been around way before I was around. But the rule of thumb is you take 100 and you subtract your age. And that's kind of the ballpark typically that someone should be in equities. Now, with that being said, that's not always the case. You might have somebody that's 65 years old who wants to stomp on the gas pedal and drive 100 miles an hour. But to your point, you've worked hard most of your life, all your life, to accumulate all this money, and you want to protect it, but you also understand you got to grow it. So looking at different types of investments, to protect those assets, but also get some equity type of growth or exposure to it, just so if anything else, we can keep pace with inflation.
So Adam, how do you handle inflation risk in retirement planning?
And inflation risk is, it's a big thing, even though we don't maybe see it all the time. I think here in the last few years, we're probably seeing it a lot more than most people have in their life. But again, it goes back to the diversification and how we do so. There's certain asset classes or areas that you can utilize to keep pace with inflation. Stocks are a big one. Commodities, things like that tend to be very good hedges against inflation. They also make different types of bonds to do so. But again, it just kind of goes back to making sure we're allocated properly to keep pace with inflation, but also protect what we've accumulated for so many years.
And finally, let's talk about healthcare costs, because that's a consideration that a lot of people don't consider when they're planning for retirement.
Yeah, so it's one of those things that everyone thinks about, but you don't always expect or know what to expect when it comes to healthcare costs. A lot of times as you get older, you do spend a lot more money. People think as you get older, you don't spend as much money, but as you get older, you typically spend more. But that's because a lot more of that money that you've accumulated and that's going out the door will go to healthcare costs. So making sure that we're structuring our monies properly to make sure that we're planning, for those worst case scenarios or types of events to where we could have a significant increase in healthcare costs.
That's Adam Howard in Lexington, Kentucky. Thanks for watching Retirement News Online.